Now, one of the things that you said when we were talking before is we talked about the typical gap in a B2B ABM company where marketing typically creates the leads, can help initiate an initial conversation, but aren't necessarily the team that's going to then take the meetings and nurture the relationship over time. But most sales organizations are very band focused. There's got to be a budget that's been allocated. You've got to have authority. There's timing because you're typically trying to close deals this quarter. Your
Sure.
compensation is based on that. So what it does is it leaves in the middle, especially in an ABM focused company. But the goal is to say, here are the 200 or 300 companies that we want to do business with. So therefore, we have to at some point initiate the relationship before the buying journey has started. Once the buying journey started, they put 4 to 5 out of the vendors that they're going to consider on the list day one. The gap is that there's not a role, there's not a department that lives in the middle that nurtures that relationship. Is that a problem that needs to be fixed in today's B2B organizations? Is that what you're doing? If you could frame that for us a little bit.
I think it does need to be fixed. And I think it is something we've started doing. Many years ago, we really crunched the numbers on our deals won, and we started actively phoning up people to ask why they didn't choose us and asking if they'd give us feedback, but also phoning up the people that became customers and saying, what was it that swung it? Like, why did you say yes? And just one metric that became really interesting was something like our chance of winning a customer increased by about 50% if we could get them to come to one of our annual customer events. So we had annual customer events. We now do them all around the world. If we could get them there, they got to see our expertise on stage. They got to see me and other people like me at our business who are the experts in what they do. They got customers they come on stage and talk about the great work they've done with us. They got to mingle and meet with a community of customers. That all did the work for us. For a certain period of time, it was like, okay, just get them in the room. If we get them in the room, our chance of getting them increased significantly. But it started to change. This is probably 10 years ago. It's changing our thinking of what do we need to do to win somebody. Historically, it was a numbers game. If you've got somebody cold calling and they'll make 30 phone calls a week, we knew that 30 phone calls a week would lead to 5 meetings. If we got 5 in-person meetings, 2 of those would go to the next stage. 1 would end up being a contract. The calculation was for every person we had making phone calls, we'd win 1 customer every quarter, whatever. Let's double that and double that. Let's get 5 people answering the phones. We'll get 5 customers. And obviously it just doesn't stack up like that. The maths doesn't work. The math is a bit shaky because you end up increasing your overheads pretty substantially. But we got really clever with what is an ideal customer for us? Who are we really good at winning and why do we win them? And we really refined that ideal customer profile. And we had to be really brave we then had to say no to people. So people would contact us and say, we'd like you to pitch for our RFP or complete an RFI. We again realized if we'd never met them before the RFI came in, we had no chance of winning it. If we didn't have an existing relationship, we wouldn't win it. The position really for us was, okay, so we need to find a way of making sure we have a relationship, to your point, before they even think of sending an RFI out, or we just exclude ourselves and we qualify out. So we started qualifying out of a lot of work. But then we also realized what you said, which is a deal is not won in our 6-month sales cycle. The deal starts probably 12 months, even 2 years before. You start building a relationship with someone who's got a contract with your competitor, not because they're unhappy, but as soon as they become unhappy, you don't then start selling to them. They know exactly who you are. They've done something. They maybe come to your events. And I think that's what people forget as well, is sometimes that takes a long time. And sometimes in the big enterprise world where we are, your one buyer is not usually one decision maker. It's influenced by the team that sits around them. So sometimes you have to pick off 20 people so that when they get in the room and they're like, we've got Benefix and we've got this other provider, which one do you want to choose? Half the room put their hand up and say, we want to go with Benefix because we really like them. Again, it just really changes the way you think about almost like the science of winning a deal rather than the maths of winning a deal. It's not a numbers game. It's how smart do we have to be to win these people? And I think where we really succeeded now is exactly what you said earlier on as well, is what does our ideal customer look like? We'd love to work with Netflix. What are we going to do to win Netflix? How do we campaign just to win Netflix as a customer? Again, I think that's really changed how we win deals. It's not just me doing it. I actually do it far less than the sales guys do, but they will build those relationships. Even if we'll go for a coffee, we're not interested in buying, we're happy with our current provider. That's great. Let's just check 6 months' time. If I see you at a conference, I'll make the point of coming over to you and just having a chat with you. We've done some really nice things in the past where someone's mentioned a book and we're just like, we'll send you the book, we'll buy it and we'll send it for you. It doesn't come out of your L&D budget then. And you do little things like that. By the time I wrote my second book, we were able to really do that effectively. We're able to just kind of say, look, if you're interested in employee experience, we've got a free book here. Our chief innovation officer has written a book. We'd love to send you a copy. What happened then is when, by the time we came to pitch, I remember several times I got feedback where someone would say, as soon as the pandemic hit and all of our pitches pretty much became Teams or Zoom, they'd sit in a room and say, I'll tell you a little bit about Benefex before we get started. We'll do some introductions. And we had chief people officers saying, wait a second. And they'd reach behind them and they'd pull my book off the shelf and they say, oh no, what Benefex? That was evidence really that we were selling way before even somebody knew who Benefex was and knew anything about our brand. When you start to realize it that way, you start to realize the power of not just marketing breadcrumbing, because I think marketing have done this quite well over the years, but individual salespeople just saying, if you're not ready to buy now, what can I do now, mid-year 2026, that's going to benefit me even in 2028, 2029, and do a little bit of work now to make your targets over the next couple of years a little bit easier to achieve.